A war nearly 4 years old, a continent in ruins, and in Washington, a moment of clarity. Donald Trump, pressed on the question the world feared most, has ruled it out. No American boots in Ukraine.
American boots on the ground defending that border.
Well, you have my assurance, I'm president, and I'm just trying to stop people from being killed.
But what he has offered may change the course of this war. A new path to peace, with Europe on the front line. Tonight we ask, is the end finally in sight, or just another turn in the world's deadliest stalemate? President Donald Trump on the 19th of August offered his firmest assurance yet that American soldiers will not be sent to Ukraine, clarifying a stance that had seemed less certain just a day earlier. In a live interview on Fox News, Trump was pressed directly on the question of whether US troops might ultimately be deployed as part of a security guarantee for Kyiv.
American boots on the ground defending that border.
Well, you have my assurance, I'm president, and I'm just trying to stop people from being killed.
US President Donald Trump has ruled out deploying American troops in Ukraine, even as he pushes Kyiv towards compromise. A White House official confirmed his stance following late-night talks on August 18th with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy and European leaders, including Britain's Keir Starmer, France's Emmanuel Macron, and Germany's Olaf Scholz. Earlier, Trump bluntly declared that Ukraine's ambitions to reclaim Crimea or secure NATO membership were impossible, signaling his intent to steer negotiations toward a settlement. The discussions focused on charting a path to end a war that has dragged on for nearly 4 years. Balancing pressure from allies demanding firm US security guarantees with domestic supporters opposed to foreign entanglements, Trump outlined a middle path. His plan rejects boots on the ground, but entertains NATO-like assurances, with Europe taking the lead and Washington potentially offering air support.
When it comes to security, they're willing to put people on the ground. We're willing to help them with things, especially probably if you talk about by air, because nobody has the kind of stuff we have. Really, they don't have. But I don't think it's going to be a problem. I think if a deal is made, famous last words, right? But I think if a deal is made, I think Russia's had it, they've all had it, and for a very extended period of time, I don't think there'll be a problem. But there'll be some form of security. It can't be NATO because that's just not something that would ever happen. They couldn't do that. So who would want that? I mean, if you were Russia, who would want to have your enemy, your opponent, sitting on your...
European officials, however, left Washington with lingering questions about what NATO-like means in practice and how enduring such guarantees would be. Despite the ambiguities, the White House summit produced momentum toward direct talks between Zelenskyy and Russian President Vladimir Putin. Trump disclosed that he had spoken with Putin by telephone during the Washington meeting and had begun laying the groundwork for a trilateral summit. European leaders, speaking after the meeting, confirmed that Putin had tentatively agreed to face-to-face negotiations with Zelenskyy. Ukraine's president welcomed the development, describing it as a big step forward toward a peace settlement.
Security guarantees will probably be unpacked by our partners, and more details will emerge. All of this will somehow be formalized on paper within the next week to 10 days, like I said before. It is important that the United States is sending a clear signal that it will be among the countries helping to coordinate and will also be a participant in the security guarantees for Ukraine. I believe this is a major step forward. The question of territories is something we will leave between me and Putin.
British Prime Minister Keir Starmer echoed that sentiment, stressing that the talks at the White House had been constructive.
Yeah, well, today's meeting was good and constructive, and there was a real sense of unity between the European leaders that were there and President Trump and President Zelensky. And we had two material outcomes. The first, on the question of security guarantees, was the agreement that the coalition of willing countries, that's 30 countries already working together on security guarantees, will now work with the US on those guarantees, coordinating.
While enthusiasm is building, European officials remain wary. NATO Secretary-General Mark Rutte issued a pointed reminder that if Russia resists meaningful negotiations, the West will intensify its pressure. For Trump, the task now is to balance his campaign promise to end the war quickly with the realities of international diplomacy and the battlefield. He has made clear that both Putin and Zelensky must show flexibility.
I hope President Putin is going to be good, and if he's not, it's going to be a rough situation. And I hope that President Zelensky will do what he has to do. He has to show some flexibility also.
Meanwhile, events on the battlefield threaten to undercut the diplomatic push. Hours after the White House talks, Russia launched one of its heaviest August barrages against Ukrainian cities. According to a Reuters report, Moscow launched 270 drones and 10 missiles. Local officials called it proof that Putin does not want peace. Ukrainian Foreign Minister Andriy Sybiha wrote on X,
"While hard work to advance peace was underway in Washington, D.C., Moscow continued to do the opposite of peace, more strikes and destruction."
For now, the Washington meeting has shifted the diplomatic momentum. Whether that momentum can overcome Moscow's firepower and Kyiv's sacrifices remains the defining question of Europe's bloodiest conflict in 80 years.